Hi, everyone, and a warm welcome to today's episode. If this is your first time tuning in, we're so glad you're here. And to those who've been with us before, it really means a lot that you've come back. Before we dive in, we'd love it if you could subscribe. It's such a small thing for you, but it makes a big difference for us because it helps this podcast reach more people who care about learning and growing in their English journey. Today's topic is something that's often overlooked, but has a huge impact: how to read without pausing. It's not about reading faster, but about finding that steady, natural rhythm that makes your reading feel smooth and connected. That flow changes how people hear you, and it changes how you feel when you read.
Yes, exactly. And the thing is, reading without those little awkward pauses isn't just about sounding better. It's about confidence. When your words keep moving, you feel in control, and the listener feels like they can trust where you're taking them. In real life, this skill shows up everywhere, whether you're reading in a meeting, speaking in front of a class, or even sharing a story with a friend. Today, we'll break it down step by step, so by the end of this episode, you'll see that smooth reading is more about awareness and small adjustments than about memorizing techniques. And honestly, the changes can be surprising in the best way.
Right. And I think a lot of people don't realize how much pausing can interrupt not just the sentence, but the connection between speaker and listener. You can lose momentum, lose attention, and sometimes even lose the meaning of what you're trying to say. The beauty of today's conversation is that it's practical. You can start applying it the very next time you pick up a book or script. And remember, if you're enjoying this and want more episodes like it, just hit that subscribe button now. It keeps you in the loop, and it helps others discover something that might make their learning journey a little smoother too.
And maybe the best part is that this isn't about perfection. We're not chasing some rigid idea of how reading should sound. We're just going to explore ways to let your voice flow more naturally, so every line feels connected to the next. Along the way, we'll share small shifts in how you look at the page, how you breathe, and how you let the words carry you forward. By the end, you'll see that reading without pausing isn't a skill for a select few. It's something anyone can learn with the right mindset. So let's settle in and start from the very beginning.
Before we even talk about fixing pauses, I think it's important to notice when they're about to happen. Most of the time, we don't even catch it. It's almost like the moment sneaks up on us. You're reading along, and suddenly there's this tiny flicker. Your eyes stop scanning the line ahead, your breath feels shorter, and without even meaning to, the sound in your voice starts to fade. It's such a small moment, but it can completely break the rhythm. And the thing is, it doesn't happen out of nowhere. There is signals. If we can spot those signals early, we can stop the pause before it even starts.
Exactly. And I think that's where awareness really changes everything. It's not about forcing yourself to keep reading no matter what. It's about listening to your own body while you read. The way your eyes hesitate on a certain word or how your mouth almost slows down before the breath runs out, those are little clues. And the moment you start noticing them, you suddenly have control. Instead of being caught off guard, you can prepare, you can breathe in the right place, and you can keep your voice steady. That's when reading starts to feel smoother, not because you're trying harder, but because you're catching the pause before it takes over.
Yeah, and it's funny how once you notice it, you can't unnotice it. Like the first time you actually feel your breath shortening mid-sentence, it's almost a shock. You think, wait, I do that? But that's the turning point, because when you're aware, you can do something about it. Maybe you glance ahead to the next few words. Maybe you take a tiny inhale before the sentence gets long. Small adjustments that keep everything flowing. It's such a relief when you realize you don't have to fight the pause. You just have to meet it before it shows up.
And the beauty of that is it doesn't make reading stressful. It actually makes it lighter. You're no longer tense, waiting for the next stumble. You're just present, paying attention, and ready to guide yourself through. I've noticed that when people learn this, they start reading with a kind of quiet confidence. Their pace feels natural, their words connect more easily, and their whole energy shifts. It's like they're finally leading the reading instead of letting the reading lead them.
And I think that's the real heart of it. You take back the lead. When you know what's coming, the pause loses its power over you. You can actually enjoy the process because you're in control. It's a bit like walking down a path and knowing where the uneven ground is. You're still moving forward, but now you're sure-footed. And that feeling of certainty in your voice, people can hear it and you can feel it too. That's when reading becomes not just easier, but enjoyable.
Exactly. And it's such a small shift in awareness, but it changes the entire flow. Once you learn to spot that exact second before a pause, everything that comes after feels different. You breathe more naturally, you trust your eyes to guide you, and you stop overthinking every single word. And that's where the real magic begins. Because now, instead of reading in fragments, you're reading in a flow that feels alive from the first word to the last.
You know, one of the most overlooked things when reading is what your eyes are doing. We often think it's all about the voice, but really, the eyes are the silent guide. If they stop moving, the voice almost always follows. When the eyes keep traveling ahead, just a little bit ahead of the words you're speaking, it's like they're laying down the path for your voice to walk on. The moment they freeze, that's when the mental stop sign pops up. You feel it instantly, that sudden break in the flow. But when the eyes lead, the voice can just follow without thinking too much, and everything feels smoother.
Yes, and it's amazing how much comfort that brings once you get used to it. There's the sense of security, like your eyes are quietly saying, "Don't worry, I've already checked what's ahead." That little lead time gives your brain the chance to prepare the sound so the words come out without hesitation. It's such a subtle thing, moving your gaze just slightly ahead, but it removes that pressure of what comes next. And when that pressure disappears, reading stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like a steady, easy rhythm.
Exactly. And it's such a small habit that can completely transform your reading flow. The first few times you try it, you might notice your eyes wanting to snap back to the exact word you're saying. But if you gently keep them forward, even by just a couple of words, your mind adjusts. Suddenly, your voice isn't scrambling to catch up. It's simply following the trail your eyes have already laid out. And when that happens, the reading almost feels effortless, like your voice is just being carried forward without you having to push it.
And the funny thing is, when your eyes are moving ahead, it actually frees your voice to sound more natural. You're no longer stuck in that mechanical word-by-word delivery. You start connecting words together, letting them flow in one continuous line. And the more you do it, the less you even think about it. It becomes this automatic part of the process. You're just reading, but the pauses don't have space to sneak in anymore because your eyes aren't giving them the chance.
Right, and it's worth saying that this doesn't mean rushing ahead or scanning so fast that you lose meaning. It's not speed reading, it's about direction. Your eyes are like a steady stream, guiding the pace, making sure the voice never runs out of road. And the beauty is, once your eyes lead the way, your confidence starts to grow naturally. You stop worrying about tripping over words because your brain has already seen them. That kind of certainty changes the entire experience.
Yes, and I think that's the part people end up loving most, that feeling of being guided instead of having to push yourself. It's such a calm way to read, but at the same time, it's strong. You can hear it in the tone of your own voice when the eyes are ahead. It's steady, it's sure, and it carries right through to the end of the sentence. And once you've felt that, it's hard to go back to the old stop and start way because you've experienced how much more natural it can be when the eyes lead and the voice just follows.
You know, something we don't often think about is how much breathing controls the flow of reading. If the breath runs out, the voice has no choice but to stop, and that's often when those awkward pauses slip in. But when you breathe at the right moments, quietly, in the middle of the line if needed, the flow keeps going. It's not about taking huge breaths or making it obvious. It's about those small, controlled inhales that give your voice just enough fuel to carry the sentence forward. And when you get that balance,
It's like the reading turns into one smooth current that never really breaks.
Yes, and it's such a game changer when you realize you can breathe without interrupting yourself. A lot of people think they have to wait until the end of a sentence to inhale, but that's what makes reading feel tense and rushed. Instead, slipping in those soft, almost invisible breaths keeps you relaxed. You're not pushing your voice to the limit, you're just letting it ride on a steady flow of air. And when the lungs and the voice are in sync, the sound feels natural. You're not forcing it, you're just letting it happen.
Exactly. And I think part of the problem is we sometimes treat breathing like a break rather than part of the reading itself. But if you weave it into the rhythm, it stops feeling like a pause and starts feeling like part of the flow. You're still connected to the words, still in the moment, and your listener doesn't even notice the inhale. It's almost like breathing becomes a hidden bridge between phrases, and that bridge keeps the reading alive from start to finish.
And what's really nice is that once you start breathing this way, your body relaxes. Your shoulders drop, your jaw loosens, and suddenly your voice has more depth because you're not tense. That physical ease changes everything, not just for how it sounds, but for how it feels to read. You don't get that tight, breathless sensation halfway through a paragraph. Instead, you're steady, comfortable, and completely present with the words.
Right. And it's worth noticing that this kind of breathing isn't dramatic. It's quiet, almost unnoticeable, but it makes all the difference. It gives your voice that extra bit of energy without breaking the mood or the rhythm. And when you combine that with a habit of keeping your eyes ahead, it's like the pauses have nowhere left to hide. You've got a steady gaze, a steady breath, and the words just keep moving forward in one smooth line.
Exactly. It's the combination of those elements that really makes it work. Breathing in the middle of the line is like adding small boosts of energy along the way, so you never run out. It keeps your voice stable, your mind calm, and your delivery consistent. And once you've experienced that, you realize how unnecessary those sudden stops were. It's not about fighting to get to the end of a sentence. It's about enjoying the steady, unbroken path that breath creates for you.
You know what, Priya? One of the biggest changes in my own reading came when I stopped thinking of it as reading words and started thinking of it as sharing meaning. When I read out loud now, I picture a close friend sitting right in front of me. I'm not performing for them, I'm just talking. The tone naturally rises and falls because I'm actually feeling the story. I'm seeing the characters, imagining the scene, and letting that guide my voice. It's almost like I'm inviting the listener into a moment, not dragging them through it. And honestly, once you focus on the message rather than the printed text, something magical happens. You start to sound alive, not mechanical.
Exactly, Ryan. I remember when I first tried this, I was reading a short story to my niece. At first, I was just saying the words on the page, but then I noticed her eyes wandering. So I changed my approach. I lowered my voice when the moment was secret and made it louder when something exciting happened. I slowed down when the scene was emotional and sped up when the action picked up. Suddenly, she was hanging on to every word. That's when I realized storytelling isn't about perfect pronunciation. It's about carrying the listener with you. The words are the boat, but the feeling is the wind that moves it.
And you know what's funny? When you start reading like that, you actually forget you're reading. The story starts to carry you. I've had moments where I got so lost in the flow that I turned the page without even realizing it. My eyes and my voice just follow the meaning naturally. That's the best part. You stop pulling the story forward like it's heavy baggage, and instead you're almost surfing on it. And when you read like that, people can feel it. They sense that you're not just a narrator, you're a companion inside the world of the story.
Yes, and I think that's why listeners feel more connected when we read this way. It's like having a conversation rather than listening to a lecture. If you imagine the audience sitting right there with you, maybe with curious eyes or a smile, you automatically change your delivery. You pause for effect, you give space for emotions to sink in.
Even in podcasts where you can't see people, you can still feel them listening. And when that connection is there, you stop being afraid of mistakes because your goal is to make them feel something, not to sound perfect.
That's a great point, Priya. And I think anyone learning English can use this trick not just for stories, but for anything they read. If you pick up a news article, a speech, or even a social media post, try reading it as if you're telling it to your best friend over coffee. Let your tone go up and down. Put a smile in your voice when something's funny. Let your voice soften when something's sad. This practice not only makes you sound more natural, but it also boosts your confidence because you're connecting with meaning, not clinging to every single word.
Absolutely. And once you make this shift, reading in English stops being a chore. It becomes an experience. You start to enjoy the journey, and so does your listener. And here's the best part. Even if your grammar or vocabulary isn't perfect yet, people will still enjoy listening to you because you're giving them something more valuable: emotion, connection, and presence. That's what makes reading out loud so powerful. It's not about proving you can read in English. It's about making your audience feel the English.
You know, Priya, one of the most underrated skills in reading or speaking is keeping that same smooth rhythm all the way through, right until the very last word. I've seen so many people start strong, clear voice, steady pace, but somewhere in the middle, they either speed up because they want to finish quickly, or they lose a bit of that energy. For me, it's like running a race. You don't want to sprint too fast at the start and then get out of breath near the end. Instead, you find your pace and hold it, line after line, so that when you reach the last sentence, it feels just as alive as the first one. That consistency is what makes a listener feel like they've been taken on a smooth journey, without bumps or breaks.
Exactly, Ryan. And I think part of that rhythm comes from the way each sentence connects to the next, like links in a chain. If you treat each line as an isolated thought, you risk creating a stop-and-go feeling. But when every sentence flows into the next naturally, the listener isn't even aware of the transition. They're just carried forward effortlessly. I like to imagine I'm telling a story where the listener is walking beside me, and I'm gently guiding them. No sudden pauses that throw them off, no rushed endings that make them stumble. Just a steady, comforting pace from start to finish.
Yes, and here's the thing. When you keep that flow going, something magical happens at the end. The listener almost doesn't notice the reading has stopped. It's like when you finish a song you love, and for a second, the melody still echoes in your head. That's the power of ending with the same energy you started with. It leaves an aftertaste, a lingering feeling. And in my opinion, that's what separates a good reading from a great one. You're not just ending a piece, you're giving the listener a sense that it could go on forever.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. I remember once when I was reading a short story aloud, I reached the last line and realized my voice still had the same warmth it had at the beginning. I could see it in the faces of my audience. They were still with me, still listening even after the words had stopped. It's almost like you've created a space where they're still expecting more. And that's such a powerful connection to have. That quiet satisfaction you feel as the reader. That's real.
And it's not just about technical skill, it's also about emotional presence. If you're fully engaged with the text, your pace and tone naturally stay consistent because you're living the words, not just reading them. I think listeners can feel that. They can tell when you're genuinely in the moment versus when you're just pushing to reach the last word. That's why I always tell people, don't think of the final sentence as the end. Think of it as the continuation of a rhythm that's been carrying you both all along.
Exactly, Ryan. It's like leaving someone in the middle of a calm river. They still feel the current even if you've stopped rowing. That's the sensation we want to leave them with, that uninterrupted flow that's still moving in their mind long after the page ends. And honestly, once you've experienced that as a reader or a speaker, you start chasing that feeling every single time. It's addictive in the best possible way.
You know, Priya, today's conversation really reminded me why small, thoughtful changes in daily life can make such a big difference in our happiness and relationships. We've explored simple ways to add more meaning to our days, and I hope our listeners found something they can try right away.
We truly appreciate everyone who's been with us until the end of this episode. Your time is valuable, and we work hard to make sure every minute you spend here adds value to your life.
Absolutely, Ryan. To all our wonderful listeners, thank you so much for choosing to spend your time with us. We know you could be doing 100 other things, but you're here, listening, learning, and sharing this journey with us, and that means the world. We'll keep bringing you conversations that inspire, teach, and hopefully brighten your day. Until next time, take care, keep growing, and remember, we're always here to make your time truly worthwhile.